okay? Missed you lots and lots and lots, and I hope you've had a lovely Easter holiday. Okay, so this book that I'm going to read to you is called Yucky Worms, because I don't know if you've managed to get out in if you've got a front or a back garden, or on your daily exercise, you've been able to have a little look out and see any worms. I've got lots of worms in my garden at the minute. So I'm going to read this story to you, and I'm going to do a thumbs up when I'm ready to turn the page, because I thought you might like to read it with me. And then you'll know, if you're not quite ready, you can pause the video and read it together. Okay, Yucky Worms. One day when I was in Gran's garden, Gran dug up a slimy, slithery, wiggly worm. Yuck, I said, throw it away. Throw it away? Gran looked horrified. Would you throw away one of your friends? You can't be friends with a worm, I said. You can't even tell which end is which. Okay, I'm going to turn the page now. Yes, you can. Watch. Gran put the worm down. It gave a kind of squirmy wriggle and disappeared really fast, pointy end first. As the rounded end vanished, Gran said, there goes its tail. I bent down to look, and I could see it had left a little tunnel. Where's it gone, I asked. Home, Gran said. It's an earthworm. It lives in the earth. And here we've got a diagram of a worm. And it's got some labels. We do these at school, don't we? It says, there's a little fact up here. It says, in most gardens there will be about 20 worms in every square metre of earth. Oh. Does it eat earth too? I wanted to know. It eats tiny, tiny stones and bits of grit, Gran told me. But worms eat other things as well, like rotting leaves and flowers and fruit and dead insects. They especially like eating at night when it's cool. The stones and grit help to grind everything up in the worm's stomach, and then the worm poos it back out. We've got some more facts here. It says worms come above ground to find things to eat. They pull their food back down as they wriggle into the earth again. Gran pointed at the flower bed. Look, can you see? I bent down and I saw a weird long curly worm made of earth. That's worm poo, Gran said. It's called a cast. You know when you recycle things? Well, worms do it too. There's still a lot of goodness left in the things a worm eats. And when the goodness comes out again its poo, it helps plants to grow big and strong. And as the worms move about under and over the earth, the poo gets spread around the garden. That's why worms are my friends. Gran gave me a thumbs up. It's not just their poo they're good for plants. The tunnels they dig loosen the soil so roots can stretch out and air and rainwater can get in. Wow, who would have thought that worms are so important in the garden? But it's dangerous being a worm, Gran said. I stared at her. Dangerous? She smiled at me. Lots and lots of animals think worms make the best sort of dinner. And there's a mole here with a shopping list. Can you see what it says? Worm, 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 worm. Birds love them, and so do moles, badgers, frogs, hedgehogs and foxes. Even some slugs eat worms, and human beings slice them with their spades and spike them with forks. It's a tough life. Cutting them in half doesn't hurt them, Gran, I said. They just turn into 2 worms and keep growing. Gran shook her head. Poor worms. Lots of people think that, but it's not true. She put her fork down. Time for a snack. There's a clue here. A worm's tail can regrow if it's cut off, but cutting a worm in half will kill it. And this worm's saying, I think I'll hide down here. Gran had tea and I had orange juice. Can I dig a worm up, I asked. If it rains, Gran said, the worms will come up on their own. There's a fact here and I wonder if you can read that with your grown-ups. Oh, I'll leave it on there for a second longer. You can pause it if you want to. Well done. I took a biscuit. What if it doesn't rain? Gran winked at me. We'll use the watering can and pretend. I finished my biscuit as fast as I could. Can we trick the worms now? Gran went to fill the watering can and I wanted the earth. Then I stood and I watered the earth. Then I stood back. I didn't want worms chewing at my toes. They only put their heads out, Gran promised, and it'll be a while before they do. Oh, there's lots of facts here. When it's very hot and the soil gets too dry to slither through, a worm will wiggle down to where the earth is still damp, curl up and wait for rain. When it's very cold, it will wiggle down even deeper below the frost level and curl up with other worms for warmth. Gran was right. I had time to eat 2 more biscuits before she said, "Look!" "Wow," I said. I could just see the tip of a worm above the earth. "Now watch this." Gran stamped and the worm disappeared. "Did you see it?" I asked. Gran shook her head. "Worms don't have eyes. They feel vibrations though, and a thump like that might mean hungry bird landing. Danger." Gran dug her fork in the ground. Out came lots of earth and wriggly worms. She picked one up and washed it in the watering can. "Mustn't drop it," she said. "They can't swim." Gran put the clean worm on some paper and held it near my ear. I could hear a tiny rustling noise. "What's that?" "They're covered in little bristles," Gran said. "The bristles and their muscles help them to move." Did you know that? I didn't. How clever. "I've got muscles too." I bent my arm so Gran could see. "If you've got so many muscles," she said, "maybe you'd like to help me plant my sunflower seeds." "Okay," I nodded, and then I thought of something. "When I go to school on Monday, I'm going to say I've got lots of new friends." "Good idea," said Gran. "Actually," I said, "I might not actually say they're worms." How to be a wormologist. Okay, so look out for worm casts in your garden, leaves sticking up out of the earth, worms on the surface. And there's lots of different things you do to experiment. And if you ever find a worm, always wash your hands after touching worms, it says. There we go. Okay, so this is the blurb at the back of the book. It says, "You can't be friends with an earthworm. You can't even tell which end is which, or can you?" So your challenge today is to write a blurb, your own blurb for this story. So a blurb tells you a little bit about the story, doesn't it? And it makes you really interested to want to know a little bit more. So it's quite a tricky challenge, so see if you can have a go. Okay, well done. Bye-bye.